Let's see if we can do this. It might be working, Howie. It might work. It didn't work last time on the first try. Today is the first day of spring. 6 members of the far-right group, the Oath Keepers, were convicted on Monday for the role they played in the January 6th insurrection. This is the third group of Oath Keepers to be put on trial for their role in attempting to block a peaceful transfer of power. Unlike the other 2 groups, these Oath Keepers were not accused of seditious conspiracy. French President Emmanuel Macron barely survived a no-confidence vote today after acting unilaterally last week to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. Members of the far left and far right vowed to continue taking to the streets to protect what they consider France's delicate work-life balance. Chinese President Xi Jinping landed in Moscow Monday, where he will hold talks on Ukraine tomorrow with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Amazon announced it is firing 9,000 executives as it trims 3% of their corporate workforce. Guess those executives could have used a union. Rotten hell, all 9,000 of you. Idaho says it's about to authorize the use of firing squads to carry out state-sanctioned executions. Firing squads in Idaho. 1 student is dead, another injured after a shooter opened fire this morning at an Arlington, Texas high school. Donald Trump says he will be arrested on Tuesday. For more on this, we are joined by Howie Klein. He is the founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC, as well as the publisher and author of Down with Tyranny, where everybody should go every day. Welcome, Howie Klein.
Thank you. I feel welcome.
Thank you. You are loved here. Hey, a lot of people, Howie, have said to me they love this bumper sticker that I made up that says, "Stay strong and protect the weak." A little later on in the show, I will tell our listeners how they can have a Stay Strong and Protect the Weak bumper sticker mailed to wherever they live. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But first, our top story is Donald Trump. Will he go quietly? And has he ever? Has he ever gone quietly?
No. He's all about the ratings.
And
so no, he won't be quiet. Now, the question really is, are they going to arrest him tomorrow? Or are they going to bring him in for an indictment? And I didn't think that it was going to happen. And then I read that the I don't know, the New York Police Department or whoever does this, but unloaded huge numbers of what are those things called? Those barricades in front of the courthouse today for tomorrow. So I guess that they do know that it's going to happen. So I guess it will happen.
How smart, we're talking about Alvin Bragg, who is the DA in Manhattan. He was elected. He's a candidate. How smart a move is this to die on this hill, for him to bring charges on an illegal campaign donation in kind because it was hush money to Stormy Daniels that went through Michael Cohen? It seems like weak cheese, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, is Trump guilty of breaking the law? Yes, he is. But I think that it really is not a well-timed prosecution. I think that they should allow the federal prosecution to go first, and then with this after.
Right. Doesn't Fannie?
What do I know?
Doesn't the Fulton County DA in Georgia have a stronger case in terms of trying to?
I think so. I mean, I think that those things are much more significant. Both of those cases are much more significant than this one. I don't know why he didn't seem like he wanted to prosecute Trump at all about a year ago, and now he's rushing to be the first one. I don't know why, and it makes me a little bit suspicious.
Yeah. I spoke to somebody who I respect immensely. I think you know this person and you respect this person immensely. This person said that you have to keep in mind that the Manhattan DA is elected, and they poll to see what the people want prosecuted. And as you said, initially, all these guys in his office quit because he didn't think there was a case for Trump, but the polling came back and said, you got to do something. So he chose the weakest case possible. It's pretty, I mean, at worst, what does he get? A slap on the wrist?
Yeah, that's right. A slap on the wrist. That's it. I mean, and when you think forward to what happens if he's found innocent, I think it sort of like mucks up the other two cases as well.
Right.
A bit, anyway. In the public eye, it sort of, I don't know. Look, I just want to see him in front of that Idaho firing squad.
For treason, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, I mean, they're charging him for running around with some girl and paying her from the wrong funds, and meanwhile there's treason.
Well, there are 596 days to the 2024 presidential election. He's all in. If he's indicted, will people like DeSantis and Nikki Haley say, I think the prosecution is wrong, but he's distracted, he shouldn't be running for president? Or are they going to stand by their man?
They're going to dance around it and do both if they can. Santos today said early in the morning, said, I'm not getting involved in any way, shape, or form. And then a couple of hours later, he denounced Bragg.
Right.
So, this is probably going to make Trump a lot stronger in the Republican primary race and weaker in the general election. So it's perfect.
Yeah. Kevin McCarthy is a bigger, I don't want to use the word.
Tool.
I'm sorry?
Tool. He
says he's launching an investigation now into the federal funding of Alvin Bragg's office because of this. The spinelessness, the cowardly behavior. It knows
cravenness too.
Yeah, it knows no depths. Have you? Well, he's not as bad. Trump isn't as well. He might. What could happen tomorrow here in New York? I don't think anybody in Manhattan is going to I think they're going to celebrate Trump being frog marched. We hate him. We've known Trump for 40 years. We know exactly who he is. He can't win. He can only win in Staten Island. So I don't think there's going to be.
What about the bridge and tunnel crowd? That's different now than it was when I was a kid, right? I mean, the bridge and tunnel crowd, they'll probably celebrate also.
Except for Staten Island.
Right. Well, and there is a bridge now, too. When I was a kid, there was no bridge. I guess people from Suffolk County could come in.
Aren't they just a little too lazy to... I don't think we're going to see... I don't think an indictment is good. But he didn't he call out his attack dogs?
Yes. He said they should protest, which means kill everybody.
Yeah. Never before have we had a more transparent fascist, so sloppy. DeSantis, you write over down with tyranny, probably more dangerous in that he's efficient and knows how to use the levers of power and influence, and people are more likely to get in line. If he, God forbid, became president, he would know how to work the system the way Bush and Cheney did. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're both really, really dangerous. I mean, Trump, just had 4 years of learning, and he's really dangerous and full of hatred and bile and really, wants to get even. He's even talked about it. And, DeSantis has always been a little fascist dog. So it's. I mean, I shouldn't say always, but since he's been in the public sphere, he has been. I just followed him obviously since he's been in Congress, but he's really bad. So they're both really bad, and they're both really fascist.
Right.
And I don't think that I don't think Trump has any chance to win. Whereas I'm a little bit more frightened about DeSantis. People don't know who he is, and they might just vote for him because they don't want Biden.
Right. Right. Well, let's turn to French President Emmanuel Macron. I was singing the praises of France all last week, how peaceful the protests have been, and this is what democracy looks like. Today, Emmanuel Macron narrowly survived a no confidence vote. The people took to the streets, and the police.
Right, by nine. He won by 9 votes. I mean, it was really, really, really close.
And the police did beat up on the protesters, not the way they do. I don't think they did it the way our police do, but I was surprised by how violent the French police were. I thought they accepted a modicum of protesting.
Well, they do, but I think that what they would say is that the protesters were, a threat,
which they're not.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, were they pushing towards the building in a way that was dangerous? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to defend the police, and I don't remember the French police from my youth of being. I don't remember them being gentle or anything, but it's a long time ago. I haven't had any interaction with them in a very long time.
Right. There is a way for our listeners to get a Stay Strong and Protect the Weak bumper sticker in the mail. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a second, but let's talk about Hollande, not Hollande, the socialist prime minister of France, but Hollande.
Ex-prime minister.
Yes. And disappointment.
Yeah.
What happened in Hollande?
Well, actually, this hasn't been written much about in the U.S. or covered much, but Hollande just had provincial elections. So you might think, well, who cares about provincial elections in Holland? There are a couple of reasons for it.
Well, I'm losing you there, Howie.
Sorry?
I'm losing you.
Why is that?
You just went out, but now you're back.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I haven't moved, but the provincial when they elect a provincial governing body in the 12 provinces of Netherlands, those bodies elect the Senate. So the upper chamber of their parliament is elected by these provincial parliaments, and they just had the election the other day, and a party that had 0 seats, no seats whatsoever. It's a farmers' party in a country where there aren't a lot of farmers, and it's just swept. It won by huge margin, and it won every single province but one. And then the province Utrecht that it didn't win, it was tied for number 1. So and it's a right-wing party. But my friend. My best friend from Holland. I lived there for 4 years, so I know something about the country from living there that long, and my closest friend still from that time is a socialist and voted for the socialists, but he hates the center right government so much that he was happy that this new party beat them. And just shake things up. And now the center right government is going to be in danger of collapsing, which is good. They've been in since 2010, and they're a bad lot.
When you look
at people,
when you look at Europe, is the far right fever breaking, or is it going to get worse? And how related is it to the economy?
Yeah, well, it's always related to the economy, and I don't know that it's breaking. Why do you think? I think it's getting worse.
It is
now,
getting
this party that won they're a far right party, but they're not. There are two fascist parties in Holland. One of them, she was devastated. They lost tons of their seats, so they did really bad. And the other one was favored to do really, really well, and they didn't do anything. They just stayed exactly the same. So she took, when I say she, the head of this new party, this Farmers Party, is a woman, Carolyn von der Plas. So she's now, going to be someone who's a contender for power in the country.
Right.
This woman, sort of out of nowhere.
Right. Well, I want to talk about how Ronald Reagan, you have a piece over Down with Tyranny, how Ronald Reagan committed treason or stole an election.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we'll come
but
up.
we thought so at the time. When it was happening in 1980, everyone felt that he was keeping the hostages.
Let's put a pin in this temporarily so we can talk about Maybe a Girl, because we're doing a fundraiser Friday night at 8 p.m. Come meet Howie Klein as he introduces Maybe a Girl. She was on the show last week. She is running for Congressman Adam Schiff's congressional seat in and around Los Angeles, and it starts at 8 p.m. It's in the description of this episode. Just click on the description and you'll see a link. We're doing it via Zoom. It's a meetup, and you get to talk to Howie Klein and congressional candidate, Maybe a Girl, who Howie's going to tell you about in just a second. It's free. Anybody who donates, however, will get in the mail a Stay Strong and Protect the Weak bumper sticker mailed to them as an added bonus. You give $1 or $10 or $5, it's egalitarian, you all get a bumper sticker. Tell us about Maybe a Girl, who was on last week and people loved her.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, Maybe is a local official here in this district where I live. She's on the Silver Lake Council. She's the treasurer and an at-large. She was elected at large.
The first transgender politician in America ever to get elected.
Perhaps
she
the
is
first one that we know about, anyway.
Yeah.
And she, the thing about her is like it's pretty easy to talk about the transgender part of it, and that she's a drag performer. But the thing is that she is by far the most progressive candidate running. So, and that, even if she were like, some guy with a beard, or just some cisgender woman, she'd be the one, just based on her policies and her solutions to the problems that face Los Angeles and California and the United States. She's a really, really good candidate, and I'm very excited about her because it's my district. Now, in the past, she's run it twice before. She didn't really have much of a chance. She did well, but she didn't have a real chance against Adam Schiff, who's extremely popular in this district. But Adam is leaving Congress to run, or the House to run for the Senate. So it's an open seat now. And there's, a dozen people running, and most of them are just sort of, they go from really, really awful to almost as good as Maybe, but not as good as Maybe. She's the best candidate. So come by on Friday, and you can ask her questions. You can hear her talk. She's very, very articulate, and the best. I think that the best thing for her to talk about is where she stands on the important things that are on her agenda. But she'll talk about anything.
Yeah, and the way to attend, it's very simple. Go to this description of this episode, wherever you're listening or watching. Just go into the description of the episode. There's a Zoom link, and click on it, and it'll take you to the registration page. I just need your name and email. And the doors open at 7:30. We won't start until 8. And you'll meet Howie Klein. You can ask Howie Klein questions about politics, and maybe we'll let Howie answer some questions about Lou Reed, Stevie Nicks, and all the giants of rock and roll who Howie Klein has worked with over the years before he became the founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC. Identity politics. On the left, there are some people, sometimes me, where I say, let's focus more on class struggle. Sometimes I say this, and I know I'm wrong.
Why?
Well, because when you look at somebody like Maybe, there are currently 435 anti-LGBTQ bills that are being voted upon in America.
One for each member of Congress.
Yes, yeah. And being a transgender person in America is an issue. It's a political issue. It's an issue of physical safety, and more importantly, or not more important, but psychological. I mean, we're talking about high suicide rates, homelessness, abuse from cops. This is an issue. Her existence, her identity is the issue. There is something beautiful about sending her to Congress, not only because, I mean, I think you say primarily because she's so strong on all the issues, but it's also beautiful to send a transgender person to Congress. They need representation. They need representation.
Yeah, that's right. But, you don't want to wind up with, and we're not going to, you wouldn't want to send somebody like George Santos,
right?
Who also was a drag queen. So, I mean, he'll always be able to say he was the first drag queen in Congress. But that's not good. I mean, he's
right.
Terrible, horrible. And
right.
She's wonderful. I mean, maybe
right.
fantastic.
Right. So let's raise money. If you can come and visit anywhere around the world, you're all invited. It's free. You can only donate if you're an American citizen or if you have a green card. I have to check, but if you're not,
that's true. Yes. If you have a green card, you can donate.
You can donate, but you have to be an American citizen to donate. It doesn't matter if you give $1, $5, or $10. You will have mail
or $20, and it matters to the candidate.
Right.
But it doesn't matter to win the bumper sticker, but it does matter to the candidate. And if you can give $10 or $20, that's really, really helpful, especially this early in the campaign when they really need it the most.
Yes. A Stay Strong and Protect the Weak bumper sticker will be mailed if you donate, and it doesn't matter how much you donate. Why is it important to donate to a candidate like Maybe a Girl? She's going to win, but you've had a lot of candidates like Maybe a Girl who've stopped by, and some of them haven't won. I mean, Katie Porter won, but some candidates don't win. Why are you not throwing away money when you give to candidates who are perfect, even though they might lose?
Well, we don't know if they're going to lose or not.
Right.
For one thing, no one knows. I mean, when AOC won, no one thought she was going to win. It was impossible. It was literally called impossible.
Right.
There was no chance. She had no chance. The person who she ran against, Joe Crowley, didn't even bother. He didn't even bother to come and debate her. He just sent like a lower staff member to go debate on his behalf. He didn't take it seriously. And then he wound up.
You're torturing me because you said to me, "Tell you
she was so wonderful too."
You told me, "Hey, I've got a candidate. She's not going to win, but she's really great," and I'm ashamed. I said, "Howie, let's get some candidates who are actually going to win on the show who have a chance." And I turned down AOC.
It's funny because when I first talked to AOC the very first time, I said something like that. you should get, I was giving her some advice that she should get her name recognition up. And even though she had no chance to win this time, she might win in the future. And she, really like slapped back at me in a big way. And she said, no, I'm going to win this time. And I said, well, how is that possible? Show me how. And she
Right.
did. And I'll tell you something. Blue America had some of its own money, aside from the money that we solicited people to send her. We also had some money of our own that people give us, and we did an independent expenditure on behalf of her campaign. And so even though it seemed unlikely she was going to win, we still wound up spending tens of thousands of dollars to try to help her to win, just because we really, really believed in her and thought it would be like incredible if she could get it.
Right.
And she did.
Yeah. And
so you never really know if someone is going to win or not. My guess was that maybe didn't have much of a chance against Adam Schiff, and she didn't win. She beat 8 other candidates. She came in second, and in California that put her into the general election. So she was a winner of the primary.
Right.
But my guess was that she couldn't win. Now, when there is no incumbent, she is definitely up there as a front runner. She is. I'm not saying the front runner, but she could be, and she may be, and she's definitely one of the top people in that race. And in fact, a very important local politician, a very good one as well, is the mayor of Burbank. Burbank is part of the district, and he endorsed her.
Great.
Yeah, it is great.
Yeah. And again, we have new listeners, a lot of new listeners, and I would like to meet them. And one of the ways to meet them is Friday night. We've been holding meetups for 3 years on Zoom, and it's a great way to meet the listeners, talk to them. And I can't think of a better setting than meeting some new listeners than Howie Klein and Maybe a Girl doing a fundraiser. And you don't have to donate if you don't want to. You don't have to. You probably will cough up $1 or $2 because you'll feel better. That's what I find. The powerlessness that I feel. And then when you cut a check, it's almost like a prayer. It's almost a prayer to the temple of democracy when you write a check or put $5, not for the corporate Democrats, but when you're giving money to somebody like Maybe a Girl, it's a form of prayer, and I mean that, and you will feel liberated and free. It's the best $5 you can possibly spend. You will feel better, and you'll get a Stay Strong and Protect the Weak bumper sticker. Wherever you're listening to this conversation, just check the description of the episode. You'll see a Zoom link. Sign up and meet Howie Klein and Maybe a Girl. Let's talk about stealing elections. There are many ways to steal an election. In 1968, it is, I think it's the Chennault affair. There was a woman who was good friends with Diem in Vietnam, who had President Thu's ear, and Kissinger supposedly sabotaged the 1968 Paris peace talks and said through Chennault, she said to Thu, the president of South Vietnam, who's negotiating with North Vietnam, don't make a deal. Wait till Nixon becomes president. You'll get a much better deal from Nixon than you will Humphrey. And that's pretty much settled law. There's tape of LBJ talking to Republican Senator Dirksen saying, this is, I think he used the word treason. And Nixon sabotaged the Paris peace talks. Tell me about Reagan, Bush, Baker, the hostages. Paint the picture of what was going on in 1980 with Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, so we had 52 hostages that were being held in Iran, and Carter was trying to bring them back, and it looked like it was going to happen. And the Reagan people were petrified, and they were calling it an October surprise if it were to happen. And they managed to sabotage it. Now, we all knew that at the time, but there was no proof. And what we didn't know at the time, everyone suspected that it was Casey, who then became the CIA director. He was running Reagan's campaign. He was a really evil guy. And what happened was that he sent John Connolly over. Now, people don't necessarily know who John Connolly is anymore, but he was a very, very important person at the time. He went on to be governor of
Texas.
Texas.
You're talking about
I'm trying to remember.
you're talking about the guy John Connolly who was sitting in front of
who almost got in front of JFK when JFK was shot.
And then he converted to with Nixon. He became a
Republican.
Secretary of Treasury, I think.
Well, that was later.
Yeah.
He ran. Oh no, yeah. Well, he ran against Reagan, as a matter of fact, in the primary. Right. Reagan beat him. He then wanted the job of Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense. Reagan just offered him Energy Secretary. Any Texan can get that, and he turned it down. But what did happen was that he went overseas, and he went to a bunch of countries that had good relations with Iran, and said to them, go and tell the Iranians not to make a deal with Carter because Reagan will make a much better deal. And now that's been confirmed by someone who was with him, someone who he was very, very close with, and who was the Speaker of the House of Texas and his business partner as well, this guy named Barnes. So now we know. Now we know. I mean, we knew, but now we know for sure.
Is Barnes still alive?
Yes, Barnes is still alive. He just did interviews, and including the New York Times, and he told a story about what happened in great detail.
Right. He's a truth teller about George W. too, isn't he?
I don't know. What did he have to say?
Well, more importantly, it was almost Trumpian the way the hostages were released. On
the very day, not only the day, on the minute that Jimmy Carter was no longer president, they released them that moment.
And I remember thinking, that's suspicious. But it's so, I remember thinking, no, that can't be. Nobody would be that blatant. But the trick is to pull the crime off in front of everybody. That's the secret. That Trump learned that. Just commit the crime in front of everybody and make everybody a witness. It's nobody could believe the brazenness of it. Howie Klein is the founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC, and he is my moral compass. It's Ralph Nader and Howie Klein. Whenever I need to know how to vote, I turn to Down with Tyranny, Howie Klein's daily blog, and he is also the founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC. He raises money for candidates who are thoroughly vetted, and you can just, if Howie says to vote for them, vote for them. Occasionally you got the guy in Maine, Jared Golden.
Jared Golden, horrible.
That was a mistake. We had him on the show. That was a mistake.
I think he was a confused guy. I mean, he told me he had a record. He did have a record as a progressive, and he was in the Maine legislature. And when he got into Congress, he actually joined the Progressive Caucus, lasted for a week, and then went across the street and joined the Blue Dogs. It's been horrible ever since. And it's arguable that he's the worst member of Congress now.
Yeah,
worst Democrat of Congress. Although there's a lot of competition for that spot.
I know we're out of time. I've been
out of time, and I'm going to make dinner now.
But before you go, I've been looking at who voted for the war authorization in 2002 to go into Iraq. It's quite remarkable. Nancy Pelosi voted against the war authorization. She was the whip.
And that's how she became the head of the Democrats, by the way, by going up against what's his name from St. Louis, Gephardt. So Gephardt was the leader of the Democrats, and Nancy was number two, and by opposing him and bringing most of the Democrats along with her, she pretty much ended his career, and that's how she wound up taking over.
And he became a lobbyist. He was the big union guy, and then lobbied to bust unions. Richard Gephardt, Dick Gephardt, is a dick with no heart.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi, her statement on why she isn't voting for the war authorization was masterful. I mean, we always trash her on the show, but she said, I don't believe there's any evidence that he has weapons of mass destruction. War will not make us safer. I don't trust George W. Bush. Adam Schiff voted for the war authorization. Ms. Lee, up in Oakland, voted against Afghanistan, didn't she?
She did. She was the only member of Congress to do that.
And the Taliban did not attack us on 9/11. Fact, they did not attack us on 9/11. Afghanistan did not attack us on 9/11. Fact, one person among, 535? What's the number?
435.
435 plus the Senate. 535?
Oh, right. 35, that's right.
One person out of 535 people is right, and the rest can be wrong. I think she deserves to be a senator because of that. I like Katie Porter. I like Adam Schiff, but I think Congresswoman Lee out of Oakland, for that vote alone, she deserves to be.
Well, and it's not just, I mean, yes, I agree with you for that vote alone, but it's not like she's got a bad record on other stuff. She's great on everything. She's really, really good. And if the election were today, I'd vote for her. I have to go make dinner.
Go. I love you. Howie Klein, thank you so much. We'll see Howie Klein Friday night at 8 p.m. Doors open. We'll open the doors around 7:30. We'll start at 8 p.m. And it's a fundraiser version of office hours. You're all invited. And you'll meet Howie Klein and candidate for Adam Schiff's congressional seat in Los Angeles, maybe a girl. She is the first elected transgender politician in American history. She serves on the Silver Lake Council in Howie's neighborhood. And she's right on all the issues. Wherever you're listening right now, podcast, YouTube, wherever, check the description of this episode. You'll see a link, and you just need to click on it to register to come and do a meetup with Howie Klein and maybe a girl. Howie has said that he'll take some questions about Lou Reed. He'll answer some questions about Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Nicks and all the... For our new listeners, Howie ran Reprise Records and Warner Records and concert promoter, and then moved into politics, and pretty much the same type of business. If you donate any money, you will get a Stay Strong and Protect the Weak bumper sticker mailed to you. Okay? Please like this episode. The only reason, there's only one reason you are listening to this right now. Somebody, a friend, either emailed you a link to a previous episode or shared the link on their social media. If you enjoy any of our programs, please share the links with your friends through email or social media. It's the only way anybody finds out about this show. Nobody is promoting it. Nobody. Sam Cedar is promoting it. But nobody's promoting this show. So the only way you can help me is by promoting it. And I would love to meet all of you. We have new listeners. I would love to talk, see what's on your mind. And also leave a comment in the comments section down below, because I read every single comment, and you can tell that I read your comment if there's a heart next to it. However, I sometimes, if I'm like on the subway or something, I can't hit the heart, but I read everything. And you might notice that your comments trigger ideas and topics for this show. So I find the comments incredibly valuable, especially the ones that are, have citations or hyperlinks. So once again, we're doing a fundraiser, 8 p.m. Friday night, office hours for Maybe a Girl. Come meet Maybe a Girl and Howie Klein, and then we'll hang out for a while. Maybe some other of our regulars on the show have said they'd pop in after to talk, and you can meet them. It's a lot of fun. It really is, and you'll meet great people. Please like this. Please share it. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. And I won't have to remind you to stay strong and protect the weak if you donate, if you come Friday night at 8 p.m. and donate to Maybe a Girl. Then you don't have to hear me remind you to stay strong and protect the weak. You'll have a bumper sticker to remind you. We're going to post the link also on my website tomorrow. But right now, it's in the description of this show. Be nice to everybody, stay strong, and protect the weak.